Another day, another getting swept up in what I was doing beforehand and totally not remembering. So apologies for the 3-minute late start. And thank you, Sarah. Thank you, those that are joining live. Thank you for those that watch afterwards. I appreciate you sharing that. Let me, let me process that for a second. So, yeah, I think the interesting thing, so I think his name is Dan Gilbert, and he has some TED Talks about this. But it's his notion that we're really not great at predicting what will make us happy. Dan Ariely has work around this as well. And so it is kind of a interesting thing. Like, so this is counterintuitive. I'll just riffing off the top, but so I'm a software developer. I started my career as an adjunct teaching associate, basically, which was like, I really had no, well, I don't know. I shouldn't say I had no business being a teacher, but very limited amount of business. I'm a good teacher, but I didn't have any necessarily like sort of experience behind that. But yet I found that whole process of being a teacher and kind of learning together with the class and then being a little bit ahead of them, worked really well. And there was a lot of, in the environment that I was taught how to program and about computer science in general, it was a lot of sort of collaborative learning or peer learning and active learning. And when I left that environment, and went into the real world, I was deeply unhappy. And that was a whole host of reasons for that, but I was deeply unhappy. And then when you have a skill like that, maybe it's like, I don't know, being an accountant or a statistician or whatever, you don't want to do that thing. You want to go do something else. And so when I would get to the edge of burning out and realizing how unhappy I was, I would try to run away from that thing, whatever, like for whatever that is for other people. But for me, it was programming. And what it seems to show is that when you get further along in your skill set in that domain, whatever that is for you, like if you want to use knowledge work as a kind of business pointy hair thing, you can, applying what you know to people who are trying to acquire what you know. So people learning programming is actually more beneficial for making you happy and sort of turning you around out of burnout than sort of the escapist tactics that I would do, which was, there are lots of unproductive things that I did, but I would often do things like I'd try to go hiking and doing more physical activity, and that's great. But there was more of a holistic way for me to be able to do that. And actually, to a certain degree, I started meditating because of all of this. So anyway, thank you for sharing this idea. The other thing too is people will encourage you as a meditator to come up with your own phrases. So I'll touch on that in a second, but I realized I've just chatted away for almost 4 minutes, and I didn't. Well, I don't know. There's just a small audience, so that they probably can't. I'm Andrew. I'm a certified mindfulness meditation coach. I'm certified in the Unified Mindfulness System. You can find out more about UM at unifiedmindfulness.com. I am many things, like someone who talks a lot about programming and someone who used to teach programming and indie wrestling announcer. But I am not a licensed therapist, mental health professional, or any of that. So Fridays, we normally do a friendliness practice. In the way of looking at this from a unified mindfulness perspective, we can take this notion of friendliness and we can look at the fact that what we're really looking to do with friendliness, which is one translation of the Pali word metta, I believe, or maybe it's Sanskrit. It's either Pali or Sanskrit. I think it's Pali, but maybe it's Sanskrit, a language I don't speak. And so metta often is translated as loving kindness, one word joined together like a portmanteau. But you can also translate it as friendliness. The perspective on this is really loving kindness and friendliness and metta. Those terms are all pointing in a direction towards nurturing positive affect. And affect is a fancy word for positive emotions or positive feelings. Feeling tone maybe is another that resonates with you. So all of that is sort of could be put under one general category of nurture positive. So have you ever heard Jeff Warren say every do nothing project meditation ends with a bit of loving kindness? He'll often refer to as nurture positive. That is a callback to Shinzen being his teacher. And so just I don't know if that means anything to anybody. Connect the dots. So what we'll do is, and I would, I don't. Hopefully, this isn't an appropriate way to put this, but Sharon Salzberg is like the loving kindness person for sort of North America. She wrote Loving Kindness, the book titled Loving Kindness that came out on I think Shambhala Press. I have it on my shelf over here. I think that was in the late 70s, but maybe that was the early 80s. Anyway, not important. My reference needs citation. So normally I'd look that up and then I'd post it in chat, but I won't do that. I'll show some reserve. And in essence, she was bringing this practice back from the time that she had spent in Bodh Gaya, and I think also in maybe in Burma. Bodh Gaya for sure. I think that her going to Bodh Gaya on her visa scholarship, the 50th anniversary of that just happened like a day or two ago. I know that Dan Harris and others had posted about that. So Sharon Salzberg, I don't, some folks, well, lots of folks will know her name. But anyway, she was my first day retreat, my first non-residential retreat was with Sharon Salzberg when she visited Tucson. I think it was the first time she'd visited Tucson. So that was back in 2011 or something like that. So I don't know why I told you all that. Other than reference to what Sarah had brought up. So she was the featured meditation today in the 10% Happier Challenge. This is an aside for those that are doing the 10% Happier Challenge. I think my link is in my bio on Instagram if you want to connect with me. So what I was thinking about today was just using sort of three phrases. But to begin or to call all the way back for where I was saying is when you hear Sharon or others, they'll often encourage you to make your own phrases. And when you're starting out, it seems like a daunting task to make your own phrases. So, but as you become more and more your own kind of teacher, where you're or as Jeff Warren says, becoming a sort of mind-body DJ. Being aware of the body and being aware of kind of what you need, you can tune those phrases to support you in that way. So these phrases are silently repeated. They're offered in the phrase or the form of a well wish, not a commandment or anything like that, or not bestowing. Not like you get like an Oprah, you get to be happy, you get to be happy, you get to be happy. But a may you be happy sort of thing. So yeah, I would agree. I would agree with Sarah agreeing with Angie as well. So happiness is a weird thing, but so the phrases for me, I will often just riff on them from what I've heard because I've done a bit of this. I was a very reluctant practitioner, like super reluctant when it came to loving kindness. And I had enough people that were sort of like, just kind of like lovingly shut up and do it. And it had a lot more impact on me than I thought. So if you're resistant, I will offer you this because this worked for me. You can focus on the repetition of the phrases as a concentration practice. And that's a way to generate concentration power, or concentration is one of the three skills in the skills-based perspective that offers, the idea that mindfulness is the combination of three skills: concentration, clarity, and equanimity. So you can focus on these phrases. And what I would offer is something to the effect of, may I sense my worthiness? May I trust myself? May I meet my suffering with compassion? So that's me riffing on, I think, some Jack Kornfield phrases. You'll catch me changing the phrases in the middle of guidance. And I super apologize for that because I do that often. But I'll just offer this as a piece. So before we begin, a moment while I set my timer and stuff, a moment for questions, comments, rebuttals. All right, let's do this. Thank you again for joining me on the close of our week. And I invite you to adopt a posture that helps you be both relaxed and alert. It's the basic qualities of the qualities of a basic meditative state: upright, dignified. As Roshi Jones says, strong back, soft front. Knowing that our posture may shift as we sit, and coming back to just being aware of if we're out of posture, and just with care correcting that. Each of us holds tension in different places in the body, and just taking a moment to check in. For me, I often find that I hold tension around the neck and the shoulders, the jaw. And in noticing it, sometimes the tension will melt or soften. Other times it will remain or maybe even double down. So this is our first opportunity, if that's the case, to bring a no big deal attitude to the sit. And then a few conscious, deliberate breaths as we begin, if available, in through the nose, out through the nose. Leaning on the wisdom of the Beastie Boys, slow and low is our tempo. Breathing in slow through the nose will allow us to breathe lower into the lungs. Breathing lower into the lungs signals the body that it's okay to release and activate the parasympathetic or the rest and relaxation system. You may find as you're focusing on the breaths that you can really feel into the settling and downward motion, as Jeff puts it, in the exhale. And then we'll begin by offering phrases to a close friend, bringing to mind someone who is a close friend, who may be in need, who you're likely to have an uncomplicated relationship with. And you're welcome to use your own phrases. The ones that I'll offer for experimenting today would be: may you sense your own worthiness. May you trust yourself. May you meet your suffering with compassion. May you sense your own worthiness. May you trust yourself. May you meet your suffering with compassion. Sometimes stoking the mental imagery around this friend who's in need, who can benefit from these well wishes, is helpful. Doing so may generate some more warmth, and the warmth may also be increased with the repetition of the phrases. May you sense your own worthiness. May you trust yourself. May you meet your suffering with compassion. Ultimately, we're repeating the phrases either to focus on as a meditative object or to generate these warm feelings, positive affect. We can shorten the phrases if that helps. Worthiness, trust, compassion. Worthiness, trust, compassion. So one more time through the phrases. Again, you're welcome to use your own. Offering to this close friend you've selected. May you sense your own worthiness. May you trust yourself. May you meet your suffering with compassion. Continue exploring the phrases. I'll check in a moment. So from this predict and prepare mindset, you may be pulled away by sounds around you. And just with care, notice, sort of that in the noticing, as lots will say, that's really the power, but opportunity to use care in bringing your attention back. If the longer phrases are such that you're fumbling over them, we can shorten them again. That's an option. And you may get to a point where the warmth is such that you don't even need the phrases, that the warmth around offering well wishes to this person is such that you can just trigger it. Again, that may be the case, not the case for me. Now, bring to mind someone that may be neutral. You may not know well. The person that helps you with your grocery pickup, the delivery driver for your food, the neighbor you see walking their dog now that you spend more time in your neighborhood. Any of those, select one and we will offer the phrases to them. May you sense your worthiness. May you trust yourself. May you meet your suffering with compassion. May you sense your worthiness. May you trust yourself. May you meet your suffering with compassion. And choose to say the phrases more quickly or slow them down, whatever is pleasing. Continue for a bit more. And we'll do one last round, expanding our well wishes as far as you feel resourced to spread. So I'm going to just basically use North America as far as I can go right now. May you sense your worthiness. May you trust yourself. May you meet your suffering with compassion. Inviting and offering this as far as you feel able to. Good. So a little choose your own adventure. If you're feeling the friendliness vibe, focus the phrases on yourself for the next 3+ minutes. And if you're craving letting go, then I encourage you to use no way as way and to switch into do nothing. And those that sit, decide, keep going. And we'll bring our practice for today to a close. If your eyes have been closed, I invite you to open them, reminding yourself to bring care and connect with your surroundings in your own time. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for spending 20 plus minutes with me. Thank you for waiting the 2 or 3 minutes I was late again. And I appreciate the continued participation of folks. This has been highly beneficial to my day. Yeah, I try to keep the channel secular, but I occasionally am overpowered with this desire to sort of dedicate merit that you find more and more Buddhist practices, and also to dedicate the merit of people participating. So, yeah, I don't remember where I picked that up, Sarah. So, like, pretty much if I say anything that has any ounce of wisdom in it, I probably read it in a book or heard it from someone. It's not like likely anything that I've done, but yeah, I can't underscore how beneficial the friendliness practice or metta was to me the early part of my practice, because when I started out meditating, I was very like concentration based. I was very insular. I wasn't in any meditation communities or any of these sort of things. And so I was like meditating to like be a code Jedi or something like that. And not exactly sure how I ended up, but I mean, like I ended up kind of in the situation where I ended up doing a fair amount of loving kindness early on in my practice. And the shift that it offered me for my practice is remarkable, I guess. So thank you, Angie. It is. I'm glad to be able to share some time together. I hope your friend's test shows up negative. I've been tested twice, and so I can kind of somewhat relate to that. That waiting for whether or not your test is going to be positive or negative. So. All right. Thank you again, and have a great weekend. We'll be back next week. If you have any ideas about things that you want to explore, I'm open to that. Like Sarah mentioned today, exploring that we don't know how to be happy. So I'll see if I can mull that a little bit and maybe work that into something next week, or try to riff on it a little bit. If you're doing the 10% Happier Challenge on Instagram, in my bio, you'll find a link to add me as a friend. And you can see that I have good days and bad days. So at the beginning, I started out meditating like an hour and a half. And then the last 2 days, I've only managed to squeak out maybe 30 something minutes. So that ebbs and flows. And when people say their practice fluctuates, it's real. So, yeah. And then, I don't know. I'll have a good weekend. Oh, if you're watching this after it's recorded, you can always leave comments. So I occasionally get people who will ping me on Instagram and stuff. And so if I'm not responsive on Instagram or whatever, you can always post comments and I'll see those as well. So.